Every decade pumps out blockbuster hits, but the 80s hid some of its wildest gems in plain sight. Forget the movies everyone quotes. Want to dive into the films that real fans swap stories about at midnight? Ever wonder which 80s movies left critics scratching their heads but built a cult so loyal people still hunt for rare VHS copies? Stay tuned, because the next 15 films are the ones you should know if you want to call yourself a true movie buff. Repo Man 1984. Imagine a movie that feels like a punch in the face, but in the best way possible. That's Repo Man. From the first 5 minutes, you're launched into a world where punk rock, aliens, and repo agents collide under flickering neon lights. Emilio Estevez plays Otto, a bored kid who stumbles into the wild world of car repossession. What starts as a job quickly spirals into a surreal hunt for a Chevy Malibu that may or may not have something supernatural in the trunk. Director Alex Cox keeps you guessing, mixing wild humor with dark, gritty satire about life in Los Angeles. There's no room for sentimentality here, this is all attitude. The supporting cast is a who's who of 80s character actors, each more offbeat than the last, and don't even get started on the soundtrack. We're talking Iggy Pop, Black Flag, and the sort of tracks that make you want to drive fast with the windows down. Repo Man didn't just bomb at the box office, it exploded later in the underground, gaining fans one midnight showing at a time. It's got lines you'll want to quote and scenes that stick in your mind like a fever dream. The film doesn't care if you get all the references, it just dares you to keep up. If you love your movies weird, fast, and loaded with attitude, this is your new favorite. Near Dark 1987. Before vampires became romantic heroes, Near Dark turned them into dusty, denim-clad outlaws on the back roads of America. Catherine Bigelow's genre mashup throws you into the dirt and sweat of a world where monsters don't wear capes, they wear cowboy boots. Adrian Pasdar stars as a farm boy who gets pulled into a roaming band of vampires, and suddenly every dusty highway looks like the end of the world. The violence is raw, the atmosphere feels like a southern heatwave, and the soundtrack pulses with that unmistakable 80s synth. Lance Henriksen and Bill Paxton are unforgettable, oozing menace with every word. These aren't the kind of vampires you'd want to meet in a dark alley unless you don't mind a little blood on your boots. Released the same year as The Lost Boys, it never had a chance to win the popularity contest, but ask anyone who's seen both, which is the real cult classic, and watch them light up. Near Dark is messy, gritty, and feels like a dream you wake up from sweating. If you want vampires with bite, not sparkle, add this to your watch list now. The Last Starfighter 1984. Ever spent a whole afternoon glued to an arcade game and wondered if you were training for something bigger? The Last Starfighter takes that daydream and launches it into orbit. Lance guest stars as Alex, a small-town teenager whose high score lands him in the middle of an intergalactic war. Suddenly, that rundown trailer park feels a lot less dull. The charm of this movie is all heart. The special effects, groundbreaking at the time, now play as pure retro magic, and the story never takes itself too seriously. Robert Preston as Centauri, the alien recruiter, might just steal the whole show with a smile and a wink. Every scene feels like it was made for people who believe in bigger adventures. When it first hit theaters, The Last Starfighter didn't make waves, but home video and cable kept the dream alive. For many, it was the movie that made them believe anyone could be a hero, even if you started out just pushing buttons. It's bright, it's fun, and it's got a legacy that outshines many so-called classics. To Live and Die in L.A. 1985. Some films don't just capture a city, they burn its image into your memory. To Live and Die in L.A. does for Los Angeles what neon does for the night, turns everything strange, bright, and dangerous. William Friedkin, the master behind The French Connection, drops us into a world of counterfeit money, crooked cops, and endless double crosses. William Peterson plays a Secret Service agent so obsessed you almost root for his downfall. Willem Dafoe delivers a villain performance that is equal parts slick and unhinged. The action? Legendary. There's a car chase so wild you'll be gripping the edge of your seat. Every shot sweats with sun-baked paranoia. Every soundtrack note pulses with 80s energy. This movie didn't play nice with Hollywood expectations and paid the price at the box office. But years later, its bold style, electric pacing, and complete lack of sentimentality have turned it into the stuff of legend for those who dig a little deeper. If you want a crime thriller that doesn't care about playing by the rules, To Live and Die in L.A. is your new obsession. Miracle Mile 1988. What would you do if you picked up a ringing payphone and heard the world was ending in an hour? Miracle Mile takes that idea and cranks up the intensity until it feels like you're living inside a waking nightmare. Anthony Edwards plays a regular guy who has just met the girl of his dreams, then suddenly finds himself racing through Los Angeles, desperate to save her before the clock runs out. From the opening moments, the tension never lets up. The city is painted as a landscape of panic, strange characters, and dead ends. Every decision feels like it matters, and you'll find yourself shouting at the screen. The film is soaked in neon light and soundtracked by Tangerine Dream, giving everything a dreamlike, surreal feeling even as the stakes climb higher and higher. Miracle Mile never got a fair shot at the box office, but those who found it can't stop talking about its raw power and unpredictability. This is the kind of movie that dares you to imagine the worst-case scenario and then delivers a gut punch you won't forget. For fans of suspense, this one's essential. Liquid Sky 1982. Ready for a movie that feels like a hallucination on celluloid? Liquid Sky isn't just a film, it's an experience. Set in the jagged heart of early 80s New York, this low-budget cult wonder paints a world that's equal parts punk fashion show and alien invasion. Anne Carlisle, pulling double duty as both leading roles, moves through a landscape where models, artists, and outsiders drift between strange clubs and stranger parties, while something otherworldly hunts in the background. The visuals, neon everywhere, bold makeup, wild hair, and costumes that look ripped from a dream. The dialogue is sharp and the soundtrack pulses with icy synth. The story follows a group of oddballs while tiny extraterrestrials target the city, making for a plot that never lets you settle in or get comfortable. Liquid Sky is fearless about being weird, never explaining itself, and that's exactly why it's unforgettable. It didn't make a splash in mainstream theaters, but it instantly became a secret handshake among fans of underground cinema. You don't watch this movie for the plot, you watch it for the mood, the chaos, and the bizarre beauty that feels like New York at the edge of reality. If you think you've seen it all, Liquid Sky is proof the 80s still has surprises in its vault. Watch it and try not to get hypnotized. Streets of Fire, 1984. Let's get loud. Streets of Fire is pure, stylish excess from start to finish. Imagine a rock musical where the streets are always wet, the leather jackets always gleam, and the music sounds like it's echoing out of a neon-soaked fever dream. Director Walter Hill throws everything at the screen. A kidnapped rock star, motorbike gangs, and heroes who fight like every punch is their last. Diane Lane lights up the screen as the pop idol in distress, and Michael Paré delivers brooding energy as the ex-lover on a rescue mission. Willem Dafoe steals scenes with a wild, menacing presence that's impossible to forget. The soundtrack is packed with anthems, the kind that make you want to turn up the volume and never let go. When it first hit theaters, Streets of Fire totally flopped. Audiences didn't know what to make of its mix of old-school cool and 80s attitude. But in the years since, fans have discovered its electric energy and unique flavor. Now, it's a rite of passage for anyone who wants to claim cult movie fan status. Want a film that's part action, part concert, and all attitude? Streets of Fire is ready to roar back into your life. The Hidden 1987. Some movies don't even pretend to play by the rules, and The Hidden is one of them. It kicks off with a bank robber tearing through Los Angeles, but here's the catch. The criminal isn't even human. What follows is a wild ride through car chases, shootouts, and a string of bodies as an alien parasite jumps from host to host, leaving chaos in its wake. Enter Kyle MacLachlan as the straight-faced FBI agent who's more than he appears, teaming up with a skeptical local cop played by Michael Nouri. Together, they try to outsmart a villain that keeps changing faces and turning everyday people into mayhem machines. The action is relentless, the effects are practical and punchy, and the pace never lets up for a second. The Hidden didn't get a blockbuster release, but that just made it more appealing to fans who discovered it on late-night TV or battered VHS tapes. It's packed with the kind of gonzo ideas and explosive set pieces that make you want to grab your friends and say, "You have to see this." In a world full of copycats, The Hidden stands out for its weird charm and breakneck energy. Don't blink or you'll miss one of the wildest rides the 80s ever unleashed. After Hours, 1985. Every city has a side you only see when you stay out too late. Martin Scorsese's After Hours drops you right into the strange, sleepless maze of New York, where one wrong turn can turn your life upside down. Griffin Dunne plays Paul, an office worker whose night goes from ordinary to outrageous after a single chance meeting. The film unspools as a series of escalating misadventures. Lost money, unpredictable strangers, and neighborhoods that seem to shift every time you blink. Every scene is shot through with dark comedy and a real sense of urban danger. The people Paul meets are quirky, sometimes menacing, always memorable, making the city itself feel alive and hungry. Scorsese pours his talent for tension and humor into every frame. Critics applauded the film, but general audiences missed it in theaters, making After Hours a perfect hidden gem. It's a story about one man losing control, trying to claw his way back to normalcy in a city that refuses to let go. If you've ever felt trapped in a night that refuses to end, you'll see yourself in After Hours. And you'll laugh, maybe a little nervously, the whole way through. Life Force, 1985. If you're looking for a movie that throws everything at you, spaceships, disaster, wild special effects, and creatures that don't belong on this planet, Life Force is your ticket to the wild side of 80s sci-fi. It opens with a mission to Halley's Comet and quickly spirals into a battle for the fate of London, featuring an enemy that drains the life out of everything it touches. This isn't your average monster movie. The effects are ambitious, the pace is frantic, and the chaos only gets bigger with every scene. Patrick Stewart makes an early appearance, but it's the atmosphere that really sells it. Fog, shadows, and the sense that something truly strange is happening just out of sight. Director Tobe Hooper, already famous for shocking audiences, delivers a story that moves fast and never bothers to slow down for explanations. Some people laughed it off as cheesy on release, but now fans appreciate just how wild and unapologetic it is. Life Force became a cult favorite for anyone who likes their science fiction loud, messy, and unforgettable. Paper House, 1988. Some films creep up on you in the quietest ways, and Paper House is one of those rare, dreamlike masterpieces that gets under your skin. Directed by Bernard Rose, this British cult gem weaves a story about Anna, a sick young girl who finds escape by sketching a house in her notebook, only to discover her dreams are making her drawings real. At first, it feels magical, a secret world all her own. But as her imagination grows darker, the dream house transforms into a place of shadows and fear. The performances are quietly powerful. Charlotte Burke brings Anna's vulnerability and fierce will to life, and Ben Cross is both comforting and deeply unsettling as her father. Rose paints childhood not as a place of safety, but as a territory haunted by anxieties, wishes, and memories. The visuals are sharp, imaginative, sometimes surreal, never letting the viewer feel fully at ease. Paper House didn't have a blockbuster budget or marketing push. It slipped through the cracks, overshadowed by louder horror films of its era. But for those who find it, the movie sticks in the mind like a story half-remembered from childhood, both comforting and chilling. If you love films that blend fantasy and reality and that treat dreams as serious business, Paper House is a must-watch. It's a film that lingers long after the credits roll. Alligator, 1980. Monster movies are a dime a dozen, but Alligator takes the genre and flips it on its head. Set in the heart of a sprawling city, the film follows Detective David Madison, played by Robert Forster, as he investigates a series of mysterious disappearances. The culprit? A gigantic alligator lurking in the sewers, growing larger and hungrier thanks to decades of discarded experiments. But this isn't just another creature feature. Writer John Sayles packs the story with wit and sharp social commentary. The characters feel real and lived in, with Forster's dry humor keeping things grounded even as the chaos escalates. The supporting cast, including a local reptile expert and a sensationalist reporter, adds color to every scene. Director Louis Teague makes the most of every suspenseful moment. There are chases through pipes, wild escapes at fundraisers, and a showdown that feels both campy and genuinely thrilling. What sets Alligator apart is its balance. Just enough tongue-in-cheek fun to keep you grinning, just enough tension to make you jump. While it never became a mainstream hit, Alligator built its reputation on late-night TV and word of mouth. If you're hunting for a monster movie with brains, heart, and bite, this is the one you've been missing. Reanimator, 1985. If you want a film that's all-out bonkers and never holds back, Reanimator is the kind of wild horror comedy only the 80s could deliver. Directed by Stuart Gordon and based loosely on a classic story, this movie launches you into the demented world of Herbert West, a medical student with a serious obsession, bringing the dead back to life. Jeffrey Combs gives a performance for the ages, playing West with a mix of cold logic and mad genius that makes every scene crackle with tension. The film blends outrageous practical effects, wild humor, and truly unpredictable twists. Blood flies, body parts move on their own, and nothing is ever safe or sacred. Supporting actors like Barbara Crampton and Bruce Abbott give it all they've got. But it's Combs who steals the show every single time he's on screen. Reanimator never tries to be subtle. Instead, it doubles down on everything fans of cult cinema love: shock, laughs, and just the right touch of the absurd. Despite a tiny budget and a limited release, Reanimator became a legend on the midnight movie circuit, inspiring sequels, memes, and fan art for decades. If you're looking for a cult classic that pushes every boundary and still feels fresh, Reanimator belongs at the very top of your must-watch list. The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension, 1984. Every so often, a film comes along that refuses to be explained, and Buckaroo Banzai is that movie. Picture this: a neurosurgeon, rock musician, test pilot, and superhero all rolled into one, leading a team of misfits as they save the world from alien invaders. Peter Weller gives Buckaroo the perfect blend of genius and cool, while John Lithgow, Jeff Goldblum, and Christopher Lloyd fill out a cast that's nothing short of legendary. The plot? Utter madness, in the best way. There are jet cars, evil aliens, a secret dimension, and wild gadgets at every turn. The script throws jokes, odd references, and crazy inventions at you faster than you can keep up, and somehow it all sticks. The pace is breathless, and every line feels like an inside joke you're invited to share. On release, audiences didn't know what to make of it. Buckaroo Banzai tanked at the box office, but fans kept it alive through word of mouth and home video. Now, quoting from this movie is a badge of honor for true cult film lovers. If you're craving a film that's bold, smart, and completely one of a kind, this is the one to hunt down. Dead and Buried, 1981. Every small town has secrets, but Potter's Bluff takes it to another level. Dead and Buried starts with a simple murder mystery, but quickly morphs into something much weirder. James Ferrantino stars as a local sheriff who can't understand why the dead aren't staying dead and why familiar faces keep popping up in the most unsettling places. The atmosphere is thick with dread. Director Gary Sherman and screenwriter Dan O'Bannon craft a world where every shadow hides a threat and every neighbor might be hiding something awful. The practical effects are top-notch, delivering moments that are genuinely chilling without ever going overboard. The town itself becomes a character, with foggy streets, deserted shops, and a sense that nothing is ever quite right. Critics took notice, but the film never found a wide audience. Those who stumbled onto it late at night, though, became instant fans. Dead and Buried is the kind of horror film that seeps into your mind and lingers long after you turn off the lights. For anyone hunting for an unsung classic with real staying power, look no further. So, how many of these cult classics were already on your radar, and which ones just crashed onto your must-watch list? The beauty of the 80s is that there's always another hidden gem waiting to be discovered by fans willing to dig a little deeper. If you love finding movies that surprise you, challenge you, or just make you wonder how they even got made, hit that subscribe, drop your favorite in the comments and let's keep this cult movie conversation going. What did we miss?